So I'm an author. I wrote my first book in 2006 and then kind of set it aside for a couple of years. And in 2010 I actually woke up with a story. And that story led me to co-author with Stacy Canfield when we wrote Soul Sitters. And then I ended up doing another book called Sweet Tweets from my Twitter audience. I've been blogging. And all my writing actually ended up taking me to a coaching position with a school district. And that's been that really kind of dropped me into helping people construct their message and find the right words to either put a story together. I've worked with I went through a marketing program and worked with a lot of the students in the marketing program on rewriting their copy on their website, and I learned a lot about marketing and web copy. So that was, it's been a point of evolution. It's not anything that I purposely stepped toward, but it's become very fulfilling and very exciting for me to see people find their voice in their words.
Absolutely. Let me pause on a reference you just made around storytelling, because that's such a big buzz, so to speak, in the marketing world. Talk a little bit about that and how you work with people individually in telling their story.
Well, it's really hard, I think, to not sell what you get excited about. And people bypass their authenticity, their core message, and they try to sell and I made this mistake for a very long time.
Explain more to me.
We get an idea about what we think people want, and we bypass what we have to share. So it gets lost in the translation somehow. We lose our ability to actually articulate our authenticity that allows people to trust us. If I'm going to come to you for services, I want to know I can trust you. I think that's one of your beautiful traits, honestly, Felena, is you're so authentic.
Thank you.
And you really offer yourself to people in a very calm, reassuring kind of way. I mean, it's beautiful. And I think that we can learn to come across in our writing when we're putting together a message by tapping that part of ourselves, that core part of ourselves, rather than what we think people want to hear. Really being able to let them know what we're offering as being really honest and vulnerable too.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And that is kind of part of the story of who we are, is that right? I mean, would you articulate it in that way, or is there...
I think so. I'm a big fan of, I'm trying to remember the author. She wrote a book on vulnerability.
Okay. Brene Brown? Maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's the one thing we guard against is our vulnerability. And your vulnerability is really an important piece to who you are, because most of us don't want anybody to see who we are.
Yep. I've heard you call yourself a creative catalyst. What does that mean?
It's kind of vacuuming up what doesn't matter and getting rid of it. So you can get into that place where the story sits or your message sits. I always tell the authors that I coach, let the story tell itself. And you can't access that if you are trying to tell the story.
Got it.
And we try to tell the story based on things that we assume about ourselves that aren't true, a lot of it based on our past.
Are there any exercises you take someone through, or give me an example, one exercise you take somebody through to help do just that?
Well, I have a whole list of things that I do with the class, and we started, it's a 6-week class that I teach through Poway School District, but the authors that I'm working with now, and they get stuck, I use tapping.
Yeah.
I think it's very effective. Nick Ortner's work is, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah.
I do something called consciousness writing or stream of consciousness writing, where I won't let them write about what they think they're going to write about. They have to write about a salt shaker, or they have to write. And a lot of times what comes out is they're very surprised about what they think. And so they're able to kind of dust it away and reevaluate. Perspective is everything.
It is indeed, absolutely. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like an amazing process, and it sounds like you're doing great work.
It is so fun, and I am really grateful that I guess I followed the seed trail. You know, for me,
Yeah.
I had a desire to write. I love inspiring people. It makes my heart happy, you know, when somebody lights up and they get it, you know.
Yeah.
So it ended up marrying each other and becoming really an amazing part of my life.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time, Candace.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Of course.